In this video, we're going to take a look at the async await function in JavaScript. I have a kind of a a typical scenario for when you would use the async feature. I have a function here that inside of it has a promise constructor created. In my last video, I made a tutorial on how to use the promise. There's a link to it in the description. Basically, what happens here is if this is true, and in this scenario it will be true, the resolve method will be called and the move forward text will be returned from this promise. If it is not, it will be rejected and there will be an error. For this scenario, for this tutorial, we're going to make it successful. That the promise part's not the key part, but it is what you typically will use it with. You'll see promises in all kinds of settings on APIs. When you connect JavaScript to different APIs, they will typically have some kind of promise function used in conjunction with downloading data from remote servers. And to make sure they download successfully, the resolve will be called and then everything goes from there. So we're going to kind of replicate that by having a timeout in 2 seconds. Maybe it might take that long to retrieve your data. And so we have our other function here called MSG, short for message, and we have a console log that's going to say first message, and then we call our myMessage function and we save the returned contents here, and then we print that out in our next console. Actually, that's our third console. This would be the second one if it works correctly. So that would be how we would want it to work, right? And so right now when we call the message, we are not using our async and wait. So let's see what happens. I have this running in a page behind here. Let's take a quick look at that. And so you see what happens here is it went to the first message, then straight to the third, and then after 2 seconds, the second message. And if I refresh that, you see what happens there. 2 seconds later, that second message comes. And this is, the object's not there. So it's kind of like saying we don't even have it. We know an object was created, but there was no result returned. So in this scenario, you need to have the async and wait. And so if we go ahead and grab the async and put it right before the header, in the front of the header for this function, and then we put the await right by where we're calling the function that has the promise in it. That's critical. That's how you format it. Okay. And so now I save that. Let's go ahead and move this out and take a look. And so both those last two consoles now wait until they get the call, the return from the promise, right? And so that's exactly how we wanted this to work. The first console was called. We went over and made a call to our promise. It resolved everything that was in here. After 2 seconds, this was printed. Then we came back here and printed that. So you see that the move forward was actually printed here. Perfect. So that's how you use async and await. Not too complicated, but if you have any questions, please leave them below. Thank you.